systems aren't looking out for us, well, who will? And that's part of what we're here to do, is to get organized, right? My friend Mike in the back there is wearing a shirt, a Poor People's Campaign shirt, and it says, you only ever get what you're organized to take, right? We have to get organized so that the people in power listen, right, and respond to these stories. Otherwise, those systems are just going to keep going. They're just going to keep going, keep grinding people down, and keep tossing people off to the side, and we're not going to put up with that anymore. So that's part of what we're doing here. I want to invite my friend Julie Ferrara to share about some other intersections and really critical pieces of these struggles.
Thank you all for joining together today to amplify and respond to the needs of aging adults and individuals who support them. I'd also like to recognize our attending electeds and representatives. We have here Albany County Department of Aging's Commissioner of Albany County Department of Aging, Deb Bertano, and Assemblymember Patricia Fahey came and really talked with a lot of community members, and thankful for her presence and whatnot. So why are we here today, right? We're here because we all have connections to elders. We are elders ourselves, we are carers for elders, but we're most definitely the children, or grandchildren, or great-great-grandchildren and whatnot of our elders. And therefore, with knowledge of such a deep connection, we're here to share testimony about barriers to accessing county elder care and healthcare resources. I work right down the street at the Center for Law and Justice, and our community, this community, the South End, faces these barriers every day. And by coming together to share our stories, today we are not only uncovering many unheard hardships and difficulties that aging adults are impacted by, but we can provide a platform for these immediately responsible agencies to improve their service delivery and improve experiences for aging adults in the region. Right? So we can do this today by sharing our voices.
Thank you for including me in this wonderful forum. Mostly I'm here to listen. You've received in your goodie bags, did you all get a goodie bag? Everybody got a goodie bag? You'll see the senior handbook. I am the commissioner of the Office for Aging. We are not perfect at all. We're not perfect, but I can tell you we sure help a lot of people. We help a lot of people in a lot of different ways. Every day is something different. We have congregate meals that are all over the county. There are 70,000 seniors living in Albany County. Can we help 70,000? No. Do 70,000 need help? No. But we do the best that we can with who gets in touch with us or any of the referrals that we get to help people get to a result that is close to what they want or what they want. Again, I say we're not perfect, but we do our best. We are trying to expand in different ways. We've opened up this year actually 3 new congregate meal sites in the county. Up in the hill towns we added 2, and we added a 3rd one in Fuhrer Bush. Many of the ones, the congregate meals in the city of Albany, give people the opportunity to go to more than one if they want to. We've got them scattered throughout the city as well, but again, I remind you that there's 22 of them throughout the county. Transportation, I know that's a big issue. We always talk about it as one of the biggest issues. The truth is this year we had less demand for transportation than we've had in the past. I don't know if that's because more people are driving around when they shouldn't be, or maybe they've discovered Uber and they've got somebody driving them around. But we're always looking for other ways to transport people, to help people get from one point to another, especially medical appointments. But you know what, that's not like, to me, like, it's a big thing to be able to get to your medical appointment. But you know what, if you were going to keep me on a Jean Paul hair salon because I couldn't get there, I'd be real upset. So I think those things are just as important, social things that seniors can take part in. We've had a big hit with the isolation when the pandemic hit. It's kind of, people are now kind of putting their toe back out into the water and coming to things and being willing to be social and to get out. This year, our HICAP, our health insurance program, we had a big increase in that, people looking for help with their insurance. And when you are able to access that, if you're able to get the extra savings, Gail, what is that called? I forget it. The MIPA, what is it? Medical savings. That's, that has worked for a lot of people, and it saves seniors a lot of money. You need to know, if you're eligible for those kinds of things. We were able to, in a different vein, we were able to do 2 SAGE tables. SAGE table comes from, is for the LGBT community. One of the things that we did go to was a SAGE table. And there were young folks in the gay community there, as well as older people. And one of the things that's very difficult when you're older and you are a gay person is that, they realize that you're coming out all the time, And when you move into a building that's for 55 and older, and you are an older gay person, it's very, very difficult. And so people who then had come out of the closet were now going back into the closet. So it was really very hard.
Thank you so much for coming out. I appreciate seeing you all in person after a long pandemic. And I'm here mostly for my mother. I'm one of 6 children. I'm the 3rd child in the middle, so that means de facto I'm like the one who has to handle everything. And ultimately, just really the impetus for this event came through Marco, who I tend to organize a lot with. We were just organically speaking about things happening in the community. I was more so thinking how I'm being that secretary type person for both of my parents, and how are our elders supposed to contend with the way healthcare is shifting in terms of texting, check-in online, and things of that nature. And that's not really not necessarily thinking that every elder struggles with this, but again, not necessarily their realm. And often, as as a daughter of someone dealing with this, I can step up. But what about people who don't have their children near them, or may not have children at all? And just sort of thinking about not necessarily gaps, but where can we build bridges in these services of what people know or don't know they have access to or would have access to. So naturally, my mother is a very robust person. People tend to think I work hard, but she puts me to shame over the years. And naturally, through this process, she's kind of, I wouldn't say frustrated, but not pleased with having to slow down. She would love to just jump out and go to the supermarket and do things herself, but of course, as you're aging, these things tend to change, and your lifestyle changes abruptly. And and of course, one thing about my mom I would also say is that I'm first generation. She came here when she was 14 to America. So 2 things is that she's not necessarily a big self-advocacy is not her thing. She doesn't want to ruffle feathers sometimes, or fight for what may be rightfully hers. And I think coming up here and testifying is a thought that mortifies her. Me being born here, I have sort of that standpoint of no, you have the right to what you have the right to, and things are supposed to be done a certain way, and don't leave anything on the table, or don't tolerate this being spoken to any sort of way. And I'm just that type of person that often, when she wants me to sort of to stand down and no, we're very much going to take it to who we have to, that this isn't right. And that's really the mindset and the concept of this event, is that people's voices, their challenges, their difficulties need to be heard. And it's not so much saying that there's something wrong with the systems in play, that they're doing this maliciously, but it's just something that you may not be aware of, and why not hear it and thus make those improvements.
Ferrar, and I am disabled. I've been disabled since birth. I am a proud disabled New Yorker who lives in the community because I have healthcare services. Very lucky that my healthcare is it's provided by family caregivers because no one else could afford to be a caregiver. I really appreciate all of the things that you talked about. I think we talked about how we experienced some of those same situations. Home care is an issue that people don't necessarily think about, but the reality is, if you live long enough, you will age into disability, and most people want to age in place, stay in their own homes and in their own communities. And so, Caring Majority, who I work with, we are fighting for fair pay for home care. What happened, unfortunately, if you've been following it all in the media, is Governor Hochul. She gave everybody everybody was making minimum wage. So my child, actually she was 17 at the time when this first started. During COVID, I'm sorry, I'm going to go off a little like ping pong brain, but I'll get back to it. During COVID, I had a botched kidney surgery, and I now live with a life-threatening chronic hospital-acquired infection. And so every 6 to 8 weeks, I was getting sick and had to go to the emergency room. And you know how terrifying that was during COVID. So here I am, one situation that I had, I'm sitting there, and I actually did a webinar that was like way above my head with these researchers, with my sister on a Zoom while we were waiting in the emergency room about this condition that I have that is not tracked in the United States because the hospitals don't want to track the fact that people are getting these antibiotic-resistant infections in the hospital. And so we're watching this webinar, and I waited more than 24 hours to be seen with sepsis. And I got into a room because I was considered contagious in a hospital setting, so I got into my own room. And I was terrified, and I was in so much pain, and I thought I was dying. Very luckily, I happened to be on the phone with my parents who were worried about me, and my sister who was worried about me. And the hospitalist came in. This is probably like 36 hours into it, and I'm just in a room, haven't received any fluids, haven't received anything to eat, nothing, the whole time, no meds. And the hospitalist comes in and she says, "So what's going on?" And I started crying, and I said, "I'm afraid I'm gonna die." And she said, "If your heart stops, do you want us to do chest compressions on you? This may break your ribs." She goes through this horrible scenario trying to get me to sign a DNR, do not resuscitate. And thank God my parents and my sister were on the phone at that time. And they said, she does not want a do not resuscitate. She does not want a DNR. So I was very lucky that I was then transferred to another hospital where I could receive treatment. And the nurses in these hospitals were amazing. They were treating people in the hallways. They were taking care of, there's a woman with dementia that they were taking care of that was sleeping on the floor in the hallway so she could be safe. And at one point, at Albany Med, those same nurses that took care of me, there was a team of Filipino nurses, they had a 30% higher COVID death rate. And they literally took away their passports, and they told them they could not leave and go home. So indentured servitude. And they saved my life. It was just, without them I would be dead. And these are the kind of things that we face in the healthcare system here because it's built on profit. The commodification of poverty. That's subsidized housing. Who owns those buildings? We don't own those buildings. That is food stamps. Food stamps, you know, the food stamp technician who makes sure you're not making that 50 cents more makes a good living making sure that you stay poor. And that's why the Poor People's Campaign, we are fighting the war on the poor because we are tired of people making money off of our bodies and us being disposable and dispensable. Wow. And so that is what I am fighting for. I am fighting for us to be able to get the funding to live in our own homes, not nursing homes. And what happened was COGIC gave us a $2 raise on minimum wage. So this is, my daughter gives me IV antibiotics at home to keep me out of the hospital. And she was getting paid $15 an hour. She made more money working at Hannaford. They make more money working at Taco Bell. Now, there's so many people that got this raise that their food stamps are in jeopardy. Their Section 8 housing is in jeopardy. Their child care stipend is in jeopardy. Their health care access is in jeopardy. It is not enough, and we're not going to take it anymore. And we need your help to get involved and share your stories so that the people that make the laws, they are the people that can change the laws, and they know our faces, and they know our stories, and they know that we cannot be silent any longer. I appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Martinez. I'm speaking on behalf of my mom, Isabel Martinez, who was born in Puerto Rico, now lives in Connecticut with my sister. But this is an example of when you go old, when you grow old. And I'm 63, so I'm headed there sooner rather than later. I'm already there, forget it. But she's 92. My mom fell in February and needed to go into the hospital. And that began her journey in Connecticut of hospitals where people didn't speak Spanish, where if there wasn't one of us there all the time to kind of validate that this woman was worth it, right? They would have left her sleeping in her urine in the hospital, on her bed. So us coming in there every day to make sure that this woman's diaper was changed, that this woman was fed proper food according to the diet she was supposed to, not the one they wanted to give her. That this woman's medication was issued to her daily. Us demanding to see the reports, the documents, the records. I went up to the nurse and I said, I need a list of the medications you are giving this woman. And at first they were like, we don't normally do that. And I said, I don't care. I will stand here until you give me my mother's records. In the process of that, we found out they were giving her a medication she was not supposed to be taking, right? A combination of that would have been lethal. But if it's not us, if it's not her family, thank God we were there. Because the day came when my mother was lethargic, and I showed up into the place she was at, and I was like, how long has she been there like this? And then the nurse says, she's normally like that. I said, no, she's not. I said, I know my mother. This is not the woman. I said, we need to take her to the ER right away. They came and they found out she was not only dehydrating, right, but then in an x-ray had a clot in her leg that could have killed her right there, right there. So it was like, get this woman to the hospital. I called my sisters. We all ran over there. Two of them live in Connecticut. I'm the one that keeps going from Albany, but I will go until the day I die to travel to see this woman. When we got to the hospital, it became an issue of who's going to take this woman upstairs, when is she going to be seen by the doctor. After many trips to that hospital, my sister, who she lives with, said, we're taking her home. I said, what, Eileen? Eileen, we don't have a medical bed. We don't have the equipment they got here. She's like, we're going to rent it. And that's what we did. We rented the medical bed. We rented the lift that would get her out of the bed. We went and we did it. And then when we told, I was there and I said, we're taking our mother home. And the look on their face, what? You're taking your mother home? Yes, I'm taking my mother home. There was no need for me to raise my voice. I was matter of fact. I'm packing her up, we're coming to get her, she's out of here today. And then the doctor comes in. What do you mean you're taking your mother home? Sir, we're taking her home. She's better care in our home than she's getting here. All right, and thank goodness, I thank goodness that we were able to do that, because there are so many who, that's not an option. So we took her home, and I'm glad to tell you, she has dementia. She doesn't know us by our names. That doesn't matter to me. When I walk in the room, she knows who I am by my presence. And that woman smiles. and her hair is done beautifully by my sister. And she's dressed, and she's, you know, those house coats that the Boricua and the people of our mother's generation wore in the house. She wears that. And so, yes, I'm happy to say that we are able to give her the care, but it's a strain on my sister on whose shoulders this falls on. She has to lift her body, and sometimes that is dead weight. And she has to find a way to get her. So that's why we go as often as we can to support our sister. But this society, this is all of our destination. We are all there, you know what I mean? So I'm so grateful for this forum, this elder care forum. I'm hoping that the call to action leads to something that actually materializes into something, because people don't know it until they know it.
Right.
All right. Muchísimas gracias. Thank you.